What's up? What's happening? Welcome in. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Out over there, that's Anthony Haney. He's the producer of the program. I'm Craig Hoffman, host of the show. We're happy to be with you here on a late May day, which is crazy. I cannot believe that it is almost June. Someone said that to me earlier in the day, and I almost fainted. I cannot believe we are almost here. But also, you look at the sports schedule, and that's kind of where we are. We are in conference finals season for the NBA. Obviously, OTAs tomorrow. We'll do a little NFL later on in the show. I'll be out there in Ashburn tomorrow, so tomorrow I'll have a big recap of everything that goes down on the first practice that is open to the media of the 2025 season, Phase 3 of OTAs. Phase 1 is just workouts. Phase 2, you can do some stuff on the field, but it's fairly limited, and obviously media is not allowed. Phase 3, we're out there, voluntary, all of it. So we'll take attendance. We'll see if Terry shows up. We'll ask Adam Peters and Cliff Kingsbury questions and some players, hoping to talk to one of the Commanders' rookies tomorrow, so we'll see what we can do about that. And then ultimately, we will get everything recapped here on the show tomorrow. We start today, though, with what was, I think, one of the best NBA basketball games I have watched in a pretty long time. Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals was awesome. It was a game that was fully, and just playoff physical. It was a game that had shot making. It was a game that felt almost a little bit chaotic and out of control in a way that was enjoyable. It was a game that had the thing that most people hate about NBA basketball, or think that the people that hate NBA basketball lacks. Let me try that one more time. It had the thing that most people who hate NBA basketball or claim to say that NBA basketball lacks, which is genuine, seeable fight and want to, and intensity in a way that is reminiscent of Game 7s that I've watched in the past. The college basketball where the want to is a lot higher than the skill level. Just this one had some levels of both. It had questionable strategy calls, which we'll get to as we go here. But ultimately, it has the Oklahoma City Thunder up 3-1 after 4 games. And that is a 96% chance they win the series compared to 32% or 36%, I think is the number, if you're down 2-1 and you tie it at 2-2. You still, if you were in a 2-0 hole, it's a tough hole to climb out of, but heck of a lot easier at 2-2, obviously, than it is at 3-1. So, Anthony, that game in some ways looked like a Game 7, bar fight brawl that you see sometimes when it's just teams are giving it everything. In some stretches, it felt like they played too many games of pickup, and it's just sloppy, and it's going back and forth, and guys are running, missing layups. And it's not that there's no defense because guys aren't trying. It's just, it's so chaotic, nobody can get centered, and nobody's kind of taking the time to settle it down. And both teams kind of like playing that way sometimes. So nobody was like, I'm going to be the one to settle things. Not even Mike Conley wasn't like, 37-year-old Mike Conley will settle this thing down. And what we got was a really, really fun basketball game, which then ended in a way that we're going to spend some more time on in a few minutes, which is a foul up 3. And ultimately, we never get the chance for Anthony Edwards to hit a game-tying 3 late or anything like that, and the Thunder win it by 2 in regulation.
Yeah, it definitely did give a feel for, a bar fight. And to be honest, this entire playoffs, Craig, even looking at the other series, it seems as if the NBA is trying to bring back hand checking. I think it was very physical yesterday, the way Shea was being defended, and even the way Nesmith was defending Jalen Brunson the other night. So definitely was more physical than I anticipated. Game 1 and 2, those were physical, but they were calling fouls. Yesterday, they let them play, and I like that. But to your point, there was a point where, it was a little sloppy and, things were getting out of hand. But at the same token, you got to take the good with the good, the bad with the bad. And I prefer that level of play, that intensity, especially, if they're going to allow them to play. So
it was great. It was great. And I think there's a couple things that you take out of it. One, the adaptability of the Thunder from a lineup standpoint. Minnesota tries to tweak some things, and ultimately, Oklahoma City's like, fine, we'll go small. Isaiah Hartenstein only plays 16 minutes in this game. Alex Caruso plays 33, and there's times where he's spending a lot of time on some of their bigs. And they went super small. There's times when Chet Holmgren, who was fantastic last night, 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, including a couple of big ones, 9 of 14, so super efficient from the field, where Chet and Hartenstein are both off the floor. And you're like, whoa, they never play like this. But they were like, fine, you want to be scrappy, you want to do all this stuff, we'll get a bunch of just athletic freaks out there that are super scrappy, play really hard. And the other thing I take out of this that's just, to me, like maybe the most significant thing that's happened, period, is players like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Brunson have had traditionally ceilings on them in terms of how far they can go in the playoffs and how well they play in the playoffs. Now, Brunson has been a playoff killer, but ultimately they've lost, obviously, before the NBA Finals when he's been with the Knicks. But guys that rely on foul calls. And there's no bigger example of this in recent NBA history than James Harden. Harden is the OG foul merchant, dude who just always was getting to the line in the regular season. And then in the postseason, he wouldn't get the same calls because it's postseason refereeing, and all of a sudden he's a lot less effective. You crank up the intensity of the defense, you turn down the foul calls, and he becomes a completely different player. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last night, Mr. Foul Merchant, they're booing him every time he touches the ball in Minnesota, has 40 points and leads his team to victory. To know that Shai will find a way puts him in a different tier of player, a different caliber of player, and this is unsurprising for a guy that is 30 points a game, back-to-back seasons, and now the reigning MVP. But I think it solidifies that he's not going to wind up being the next James Harden. He is something better than that, and that is not to mention what he is defensively, but offensively, ability to perform in the playoffs offensively, that you might be able to stifle him for one game. You might find a solution, but he has got a deep enough bag and is smart enough to go find the right tools for the problem. And to me, that's the most significant thing, because that means we might have one of them dudes. Like, it solidifies him as one of those best player on a championship team type of players, which is the highest bar to clear in the entire league.
Yeah, and I think also Shai just understood the magnitude of the moment yesterday. He came out super aggressive. He had 21 in the first half. So, like, we knew what kind of night we were going to get from Shai based off the first half. Anthony, I was a little surprised that, he wasn't as aggressive. But at the same token, I also came to understand it just because of the way the Thunder sort of kind of guarded him. And it seemed like their game plan was to not let Anthony Edwards beat them. In Game 3, he came out, was aggressive, and was cooking them. And he set the tone. So yesterday, they didn't allow him to get that rhythm. And I think I think that's why the game went the way it went, just because they didn't allow Anthony to dictate it. And Shai, Jalen Williams, those were the aggressives. Those were the guys that dictated the style of play, and ultimately, helped led them to win.
But the thing is with Edwards, like, this is actually a really positive sign for Anthony Edwards long term. He makes the right play, he doesn't force it. And he's going to have to learn, this is part of, like, getting to that level that we were just talking about, because he's 23 years old. Part of it is understanding when maybe you might just force it, that there might be a little more space, and that you just have to be the man. And it's the old Kobe thing where, like, Kobe took it too far for me, where he would occasionally shoot over triple teams, and you're like, you got good shooters wide open. And then LeBron would catch criticism the other way of, like, always making the right basketball play. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes we'd rather have you shoot over 2 than him shoot over 0. And it's like, you're never going to get it 100% right. MJ didn't get it 100% right. Magic didn't get it 100% right. But in these iconic moments, they did. They understood where the balance was, and LeBron has obviously found that tremendously. It didn't take him long. And in fact, he probably made a bunch of correct decisions that didn't always go out, because if you do pass it, or even if you shoot it, you have to live with the results of those shots. Same thing, like Kobe made plenty of clutch plays, but his default setting was shoot no matter what. Edwards, I think, has avoided that pitfall where he knows he's got good shooters around him, and he will not be afraid to move the ball, give it up, and hopefully, rely on his teammates to play 4-on-3 and create great shots. But Oklahoma City's defense is one of the best defenses in the history of the NBA. This team is ridiculous how on a string they are. I can maybe get into it another time. I don't have time right now to try to explain the brilliance of what they are doing. And 2, eventually the other dude's got to make shots. Or your coach has to find a way to get you isolated and find different strategies. And I don't know how good of a job Chris Finch has done of that in this series. So that is kind of where we stand right now. I think the other interesting thing coming out of this game is the foul up 3 thing late. It just robs us of late game drama. And I think there is a legitimate debate that should be had in the league office about whether or not you should outlaw that. I was firmly on board with that. However, I read an article by John Hollinger in The Athletic in the 15 minutes before the show that might have changed my mind. I'll lay out the arguments for and against, and then we'll take your calls next on the Hoffman Show. So last night, Western Conference Finals, Game 4, comes down to a situation late where the Oklahoma City Thunder are up 3, foul, execute it well, play the free throw game. Eventually, Anthony Edwards has to miss one intentionally. Ball is batted around. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets the rebound and essentially ends the game when he throws it down the court. There was a odd situation where a fan caught it, which saved a little bit of time, but we don't need to get into all that. Yeah, smart, high basketball IQ by that fan. However, should that be a situation that unfolds that way in the first place? That is the question we will try to answer now here on the Hoffman Show, Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And I first really thought about this. Like, I actually didn't think twice of it. It's just like, what happens, right? Until I was reading Zach Harper's newsletter in The Athletic, The Bounce, and he just, as Zach is so good at, just cut through it and was like, this isn't basketball. Like, this isn't what is supposed to happen. We should ban this. And I was like, well, damn, when you put it that way, I think that's actually the correct take. I think the correct thing to say is like, hey, we come to see basketball get played, and intentional fouls, like, you're not supposed to use a thing that is an infraction of the rules to your advantage. You are not supposed to be able to do something that is illegal for your own benefit. So we should ban that on the grounds that it's antithetical to what the game is supposed to be, and it's crappy entertainment. And I do think it's totally fair in the same way, Anthony, that we just had the conversation about the tush push, to say, yeah, I just don't want to see it. If I'm Adam Silver or I'm Roger Goodell in the NFL on the tush push, I don't want to see that in our game. So we would like to see teams play basketball, and thus, them's the rules. And I was like, it makes the most sense to me. And then Anthony, right before the show, get a notification from The Athletic again. Hey, you like that Zach Harper thing? You should read more from us. I'm like, okay, you tell me what I'm reading. John Hollinger, who was at ESPN forever as a kind of one of the OG analytics basketball type minds, founded the PER formula, I believe. Then got actually hired to go into the Memphis Grizzlies front office, and then is now reemerged for The Athletic on the media side. Wrote a piece about how fouling up 3 is actually being done terribly by coaches around the league. That if you look at win probabilities, often coaches take near guaranteed wins and reintroduce losing by fouling up 3. And it's happened twice already in these playoffs. The Knicks Pacers in game 1 of their series, and the Knicks would have lost that game in regulation, nevertheless overtime, if Tyrese Halliburton's foot had gotten behind the line. Remember the bounce up in the air shot, the choke, the whole deal. Instead, they lost in overtime. And then the Thunder against the Nuggets had the same thing happen, where Aaron Gordon hits the 3. That situation only happens because the Thunder fouled up 3 too early. And basically the golden rule is like, if you foul, like if you want to do it correctly, it's got to be under 6 seconds on the clock, and no timeouts for the other team, and you have to be in the backcourt, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff, and it's like, this actually helps you. But for reasons we get into, teams mess it up all the time, thinking that they're actually doing the quote-unquote smart thing by the analytics. Which then makes me go, we just let coaches screw it up? Are we actually, although it's choppy and it's not really basketball, are we actually, by allowing this, inviting more chaos? So, Anthony, that's the big, long setup. That's a lot of a preamble. Do you think that the NBA should find a way to ban intentional fouls in the same way that they banned, take fouls? That it just becomes different. This foul up 3 thing, does it have to go?
So watching it last night, I was definitely upset because, as you already alluded to, it took away some of the entertainment value of a game-tying 3-point shot, or, who's to say they did miss and they were up 2 and Anthony hits a 3, them winning the game kind of thing. But at the same token, like, we can't get mad at coaches for betting on, another team to miss free throws and banking on them also to make their free throws. I think it's just a smart thing to do. It sucks, but at the same token, like, these are the rules. They're playing within the rules. So can we really get mad at them?
You can change the rules all you want, right? The NFL decided you can't do onside kicks unless you're down, right? So, like, that's part of my thing is, like, if good strategy late becomes fouling if you're down, are we going to outlaw that too? Like, where's the line of where a take foul is? Are we going to have to make it so that teams are trying frantically to steal the ball, and if you're not making a legit attempt on the ball, then that's a take foul, and it's one shot in the ball, and so teams that are down, nevertheless up, like, it becomes very hard to legislate unless you just say an intentional foul is an intentional foul is an intentional foul, and it's up to the ref's discretion, and you better kind of hope that they don't mess it up. And I think the difficulty of legislating it becomes a real inhibitor to changing it. I think the strongest argument for doing it is the pure, like, hey, play basketball. Entertainment value is important. This is how this goes. It's not really basketball to just foul down late and play this free throw game. So we're outlawing it. I think it's hilarious that teams don't really understand the math. Like, Hollinger's piece is a very funny read because he makes it very clear why it's a mistake to do it in so many situations. Like, if it's more than 6 seconds, if the other team has timeouts, like, there's a bunch of stuff. And basically, like, you're extending the game on your end, which is what the defense is trying to do. And you're adding, by extending the game, you are adding variance, and you are 98% already going to win. You're up 3 points with 14 seconds to go, or 12 seconds to go, or 10 seconds to go, 8 seconds to go. And, by the way, it's one thing to defend the 3-point line when you are afraid of giving up a 2. If I know you have to take a 3, Anthony, do you realize how easy it is for me to get good defense on your 3-point shot? If I'm not worried about getting blown past. And so teams wind up taking these wild 3-point shots because that's all they can get off. And there's such a low percentage that, again, by fouling, you're actually hurting your own likelihood of winning as opposed to helping it.
So do we take away the hacker shacks as well? Like,
yes. Like, I think that stuff is ridiculous.
Okay.
I'm all for taking away the Hacka Mitchell Robinson, Hacka whoever. And you can say, like, I understand competitively the idea of, like, they're called free throws. Just make your free throws. But, like, how about just play basketball? And because, like, yes, if you want to result to that, I don't really have a great counter argument of, like, why should I let that player who's good at everything but free throws ruin my day if I'm a team who's getting wrecked by Mitchell Robinson on the offensive glass? Why don't I just foul him and take him out? Because that's not really in the spirit of basketball. And, like, I think that's ultimately, to me, at the core of this, on the Hacka argument, on the late foul of 3 argument, is, like, rules and, like, the game and the rules were designed with spirit in mind, like what it means to play basketball or football in the tush push case, if you want to make this argument there. And these strategies are meant to break the rules or break the spirit, even if they don't break the rules. And so does it get annoying to continue to add tweaks to rules because people keep breaking the spirit of them? Yes, but that's how legislation goes in the world when we make rules and laws that govern our country and our state and our city. And if you are making up a game, you keep having to add stuff because people try to find ways to exploit and break the rules, because that also is kind of what it means to be competitive. But if everyone agrees that, like, protecting the spirit of the game is the most important thing, that having a product that is what it's meant to be is the most important thing, then you just kind of have to keep doing it because that is how it goes. That is the cycle.
Do you think NBA players will want to take this rule out?
Yeah.
I think the fan, obviously, we're going to be selfish. We know, like, it needs to go.
I think every NBA player would rather just win straight. Like, truly competitive. Like, they're not going to risk losing and just be like, we're going to opt out of the strategy. But if they know the other team can't do it, would you rather, as a competitor, win straight up? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I definitely think that. 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Would you like to see a rule put in to prevent fouling up three / the hecka, insert bad free throw shooter here, rule taken out of the game? 301-230-0980. That's what we're asking you on a Vibe Check Tuesday here on The Hoffman Show. What is the biggest inhibitor to success this season for the Washington Commanders? Logan Paulson has strong thoughts on it, and we will discuss coming up at 5 o'clock. Take command style, and then with you on the phones at 5:30. 301-230-0980 is our phone number. We're taking calls now on the NBA's, quote-unquote problem question mark when it comes to free throw shooting and how big of a game or part of the game it's become in non-traditional ways, a.k.a. fouling up three late in games, or like, for instance, in the Knicks-Pacers series, hacking Mitchell Robinson, a poor free throw shooter, to put him in the line in the ways that Shaquille O'Neal, DeAndre Jordan, and others have been in the past. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Let's go to Dave on a Vibe Check Tuesday. Dave, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
What's going on?
What's up, Dave? What's your take on this?
Yeah, my take was pretty simple. we pay these, well, not us, but these NBA players get paid millions of dollars, to go out there and perform and be professionals. The rules shouldn't change. Make your free throws. You get X amount of time each day at practice to do work on your craft. Spend that time honing in, locking in, making free throws every day. Make 100 free throws every day. Same that we tell to our grassroots kids all the time that can't make free throws or can't do certain things. We tell them to work on their craft. Now, these guys getting paid millions of dollars. We don't tell them to work on their craft. We want to change the rules now.
Dave, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Do you really think Mitchell Robinson doesn't work on his free throws, and that's why he's bad at them?
Do I think he does not work on them? I don't think he does not work on them. Does he work enough to be a quality free throw shooter? Probably so. I can definitely agree with
So
that.
what you're saying is there is an amount of work that can make you a better shooter. Okay, that's I think a premise we can all agree upon. But do we also agree there's limits on that? Like if I quit the radio now and I said, "Hey Dave, thanks for calling. I got to go and work on my shooting." Could I come back in 5 years and be Stephen Curry if I just worked on shooting nonstop?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but using Stephen Curry as a measuring stick, Stephen Curry is an anomaly.
Right.
I think we can go on record and show that there have been players in the past that have shot a low percentage free throw shooter, and over time they had. You said 5 years. 5 years is a long time. So in 5 years, if you're not from 50% to at least 70%, then the problem is you. That's the rule.
See, I disagree because I think that there's an anomaly. You can have anomalies the other direction, and Mitchell Robinson is great at a bunch of other stuff. For instance, to use Mitchell Robinson, he's an anomaly as an offensive rebounder in a positive way. But by the same token,
I agree.
How much do you know about Dwight Howard's work on his free throws?
Enough.
Okay, so for those that don't know, Dwight Howard, famously poor free throw shooter, was subject to this strategy, etc. He worked on his free throws a ton and tried to become a lot better. And he got to the point that he was making 85, 90% in practice. Couldn't do it in the game. Just in the midst of a game, he could not ever get it to be consistent. I mean, shoot, LeBron James has been an inconsistent free throw shooter over the course of his career. He's tweaked his form. He's tweaked his routine. He's tweaked a bunch of stuff. I think the thing is, though, Dave, for me, it totally misses the point, which is you're exploiting the rules to not play basketball. I would rather watch NBA players play NBA basketball than be like, hey, make your free throws.
Can I make a quick point real quick?
Of course.
I know you got to go.
Of course.
So just like you say that we, tweak the rule or whatever in that regard, or try to exploit weaknesses of other players. Don't coaches do that in other circumstances? But because there's a rule, I guess, for fouling and causing a free throw situation, does it make a difference?
Give me another example here.
So let's say, I'm not really an NBA, but we say smaller guards. We use smaller guards as an example. If you try smaller guards, is it going to say, okay, well, we can't play smaller guards? If you can't play smaller guards, you would find a different piece of bigger guards, correct?
You're saying, if you got a mismatch and you got to post someone up?
Yeah.
But that's basketball.
You use that would probably be a better.
That's basketball. Is if you can't, if whatever that smaller guard is bringing isn't positive, then you're gonna have to. That guy's not playing well enough. And I guess we are. I'm not gonna be obtuse and pretend like that's not a gray area. It's well, you're not playing well enough. You're not hitting your free throws. But in the course of basketball is a sport where it's free flowing. We run up and down the court. Yeah, free flowing with a certain level of physicality. But we don't foul people on purpose while playing basketball. That's not a thing that would happen. You never do that in a pickup game, which to me at some point is the test here. Is if you tried to just foul people playing pickup all the time and said, hey, well, sorry, I was going to get blown by if I didn't foul that guy. Eventually they'd be like, hey, who wants to sub in for Dave because Dave's ruining the game? And that's kind of my point. Does that make sense?
I can see where you're going with that, but again, the object is the object of the game is to put the round thing the brown thing in the round thing, right? So if to your point, if I can't guard somebody, what am I going to do? I'm going to do what I can to stop them from scoring the basketball. So if that entails fouling and that guy can't shoot free throws, then again, that I can't really make that a problem for me because you can't shoot free throws, just like I can't guard. It's kind of like you said, it's a gray area. It's a 50-50 thing. Okay, I don't think it's any right or wrong answer, but I can't use what I'm trying to say. I guess what I'm trying to say is I can't make your fault my fault.
And I hear you. And it's a hard argument to rebut other than like, I don't like it. And neither do most people who watch basketball. And at some point that's got to matter to a league that is part basketball, but also part entertainment. Dave, great call. I appreciate it. I think you argued that side of it really well. Appreciate you checking in with us on a Vibe Check Tuesday. And that's really what it comes down to, right? It's like, I think like, I'm not arguing it's bad strategy. I'm arguing that we should outlaw the strategy. That if I have a player that I think is good, that I want out on the floor but can't guard anybody, and it becomes a net negative, like, yeah, I'm going to have to make a substitution. That guy's going to get attacked in pick and rolls and all those kinds of things. But, like, that is ultimately basketball. Putting in someone who otherwise wouldn't be in the game because it's 6 free fouls to then be like, I'm going to go foul this guy till you sub him out, that to me is kind of hacking the rules and playing games with people, basketball, football, checkers, Madden, whatever, with people who hack the rules is not very fun. And I just I'm not pro that, I guess is where I land. Anthony, should I go get Darius in here? Oh, he's not here today. I'm looking down and I see Metal Chris in his seat about people who perhaps hack the rules in Madden.
Oh my gosh, here you go. I'm glad he is not here. I think he's still celebrating his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to Darius from the Grant and Danny Show. I hope you're listening and I hope you're chuckling because I did want to have to hold a Craig's Court to decide whether Anthony was hacking the rules in their Madden league. I did rule in your favor, though.
You did.
Yeah. So I'm all for strategy, but it's the difference between strategy and being a hack. 301-230-0980. We can take more of your calls on this next. And then coming up at 5 o'clock, what is the biggest hindrance to the Commanders' potential to repeat a 2024-like season in 2025? Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Logan Paulson on what the biggest inhibitor of success for the Commanders might be in 2025, especially when we look back at 2024 in just a few minutes. What happened to the person that was on hold, Anthony? Where'd they go?
I'm not sure where he went. He actually has some good comparisons, though.
Oh, well, what do you say since he left?
Well, he was basically trying to equate us intentionally fouling players up 3 to how pitchers and baseball teams intentionally walk batter so that they don't have to face one batter and they can just face the next. And then he also said what was the other thing he said? I'm blanking right now. It might come to me though.
Yeah, I mean the intentional walk thing is probably it's kind of a good example, but also you putting somebody on base isn't against the rules. It's actually something you try to avoid in the same way that fouling is. And if you wanted to say, hey, you're going to have to pitch around guys, your catcher has to start in a catcher stance, and you want to hey, if you throw the ball 4 feet outside, but your catcher catches it, but he started in a catcher stance as opposed to standing the way it used to be, where you used to have to throw the 4 pitches. And then eventually you're like, this is dumb. We're wasting everyone's time. The next guy, though, just if that guy hits a 2-run homer and you lose, when you instead of facing, it's not situational, I guess is the other thing too, right? And I guess in that way it's kind of like the hack of whoever. Obviously, I'm thinking about this in real time. I think it's a good one. I have less of a problem with intentional walking, although I think the year, for instance, that Barry Bonds, and I realize there's asterisks here, but the year that Barry Bonds hit 73 homers, you literally had someone intentionally walk him with the bases loaded because that was deemed as less risky, or maybe it was the year after, but that was deemed less risky than pitching to him, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, take this free walk.
If you want to invite that level of chaos, then at some point, I guess fine, but also I'd rather see the best hitters get pitched to. That's why we're at the games. And in Major League Baseball wanted to ban the intentional walk and say you have to throw pitches, and if you want to try to pitch around guys and be really careful, okay. We can't legislate that. And I think that's part of it too, right? Is how do you legislate this becomes really important. That's something Hollinger writes about in the piece, is the idea actually isn't that complicated. But let's use the intentional walk example because it's a good one. I throw 4 straight splitters into the dirt. Oops, I put the best hitter in baseball on base. Hey, you can't do that. That was an intentional walk. I thought he would swing. How do you tell me that it's not? Or I try to get him. I'm trying to get him to chase a fastball high. I just kept throwing it at his eyeball level. What's intentional versus not? And what are you going to do? Give him an extra base? You let him hit again? Let the hitter deny the walk? I don't want the free base. I want to hit. Okay. Because that's kind of the solution, I think, in the NBA is we already have take fouls, right? You can't do the stop a transition play with a foul. And so it's one free throw in the ball and you don't get the thing you want. You don't get the ball back. So the fact that we already have a remedy and a way to legislate this, that if it's an intentional foul, okay. Because I think that that's also the difference between intentional fouls if you're down late and you're trying to extend the game versus if you're up late. You're breaking what you would do situationally. You would never foul if you're up. That's the worst thing that can happen, right? You're stopping the clock and giving them a chance to get points. And then if you're down, you can make the argument that, hey, we're not taking a foul. We're trying everything we can to get a steal. And if we foul, we foul. We care less about the infraction. And that, to me, is how you could kind of do it. Now, do you want to, for safety reasons, just let teams that are down take the foul? Hey, sorry that I clocked your guy. Sorry that I scratched the crap out of his arm. I was trying to give a convincing enough foul not to get a take foul when I could have just, pat, wrap it up, right? So I think that's where you kind of draw the rules. But, you have to also remember, here's the thing about sports and rules. Everything's arbitrary. These games are totally made up. These games were not ordained by God or whatever higher power you believe in, right? They took the three-point line at some point and just decided, this is too easy. Let's move it back. They at some point decided, let's have a three-point line to begin with. I saw this really funny video the other day, this morning I think it was, the first ever NBA game-winning three. The announcer forgot that it was a three-pointer. It was a couple years after the three-point line had been introduced to the NBA. And the announcer, I should have sent this to you, Anthony. I was like, we can't use our real things from 1987. But now I'm like, dang, I wish we had that sound. But they win, and he's like, oh, they won. I forgot the three-point line existed. And you're like, what? But because in the first couple of years they reintroduced the three-point line, nobody took them. These games are made up. We can make up whatever rules we want to try to uphold whatever it is we want the game to be. And I think that's, so if you want to ban intentional walks, ban intentional walks. That's fine with me. If you want to ban take fouls up three, or if you're winning late, you can't intentionally foul. Not that you can't foul, but you can't intentionally foul. And you can't intentionally foul bad free throw shooters because that's not really what we want basketball to be. That's fine. We get to decide collectively what we want basketball to be. That's that hour of radio. Coming up next, a lot of football. We are going to play for you next a clip of the most recent Take Command answering a mailbag question that Logan and I thought was really not just interesting, but in the middle of the offseason, genuinely important. You'll hear that next here on the Team 980. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Tomorrow, OTAs. Commanders will probably be in the bubble because it's supposed to rain all day, but be out there at practice. Very excited to see it. 2025 season, we're hoping, is as magical as 2024 was. But what are some of the big inhibitors to potential success? A couple came up in a conversation that we had on Take Command on our mailbag edition of the show to get the week started, which we share with you because it is very interesting. We'll take your calls on it still to come as well here on the Hoffman Show.
It's time to take command with former NFL tight end Logan Paulsen and former Commanders reporter Craig Hoffman.
What's happening? Welcome in. It's the Take Command podcast on a Mailbag Monday. Happy Memorial Day. Everyone's getting to rest, relax, enjoy a weekend, and ultimately a short week. But we don't stop working. Mailbag full of questions to answer. Logan Paulsen. I'm Craig Hoffman. How you doing?
Good, man. Excited for Memorial Day. Excited to hang out with the family a little bit, and also hang out with you, which is always a good time. So
yeah, always
very
good to
do a mailbag on Memorial Day Monday.
So I love just getting to sit around, talk ball, enjoy it. It's not like it's nice now anyway. It's supposed to be nice later, but it's like rainy right now. It's like, hope that clears up for your barbecue. Anyway, the point is we have questions. A wide receiver 2 question that I'm very excited to get deep in the weeds on in a second. But we're going to start off, Logan, with something that you in our production meeting called the most important question of the offseason / important question of the season. It starts as a question who listens to this show and the radio show and said a bunch of nice things and then said, I've been meaning to ask this since the schedule has been released. The strength of our schedule is obviously increased. We are playing much higher caliber teams and more primetime opportunities as opposed to last year. I don't think the Commanders will necessarily take a step backwards. I believe we may win less games. In my opinion, we will most likely get anywhere between 9 and 11 season. While not bad, it's going to be harder for Jaden to follow up the year he just had. Agree with that. Are we going to? But we may. Or do you agree that while we are not going to be worse, we may win less games? And do you think by winning less games, people may claim Jaden has had a sophomore slump? When in reality, the quality of teams we are playing is just better. Thanks again. Love the show. Keep up the good work. We also, Logan, got a similar question from Tim on Instagram who said, while the team has raised the floor, do you think the national media is too high for this year? This is a team that wildly outperformed expectations last year, but has a much harder schedule and not the level of talent of the Eagles. So that was a lot of reading of words, Logan. Schedule. Does it scare you?
Yeah, so this is a really good question. It's a really good thought experiment. I think just for anything you're doing, like last year, like the thing that I had a special teams coach to me is past performance is not indicative of future results, right? So a fantastic year. Jane Daniels was amazing. The offense was the defense, I think, kind of what the national media's expectation was, the offensive line. And I think you saw kind of understanding of that by Adam Peters specifically, and going out and kind of making additions to the offensive line. How I think the defensive additions are going to elevate the group in a way because they're going to just do what they're supposed to do, and it's going to elevate the floor of that group. However, like, because you're playing quote unquote better football teams, and you always do a great job of kind of pointing this out. You don't know like now how the schedule is going to look at. But even if the teams weren't quote unquote better, like what some of the stuff they did is very, very high variance. Like, and what it's going back to the fourth down conversion percentage, right? Like 87%, like that's diabolical. It's like an insane number to be thinking about, right? It's better than all these great fourth down plays. And I look at that and I say to myself, like, that's to the mean. That's going to go, even if it decreases 15%.
Yeah, even
like
if it's what the best fourth down offense is in a normal year, that was the best number since they basically started tracking the stat like 25 years ago or whatever it is.
Which is crazy, right? Same thing for third down percentages. I want to say they were third still 45%, which is very, very high. So you're not going to be able to football as long. You're not going to be able to have as many bites as the apple. So like there is going to be a regression there, right? I look at Jaden Daniels' passing numbers, efficiency numbers, like they're still crazy high. And I don't care how good he is. Like I expect that to come back to baseline a little bit. He'll still be playing well, I'm sure. He'll still protect the football, sure. But what does that variance do to the defense? Then you go, okay, well, Adam Peters has gone out and brought in Laramie. They've drafted Josh Connerly. Like that should allow them to be more efficient running the football. They're going to be in more second down situations. Does that allow them to offset some of that variance you're seeing in the third down and fourth down regressions? Like maybe I would think so, but you don't know until you get there, right? Automatically, are they able to elevate offensively with the Jaden Daniels run game to offset some of that regression? Is the Sale's ability to create explosive plays on his own ability to go and offset that regression? Like types of questions that I've been kicking around for weeks now, and I don't really have an answer because again, they got to go out and play the game. And I'm sure that one of the reasons Adam Peters was obsessive with some of this stuff is because he understands that, right? I think Dan Quinn understands that you need to get a more team to help offset some of these higher variance statistics, right? Can we be more consistent? They're solid statistics. They're more consistent on second down. Those metrics tend to be more consistent point. So that's where I'm looking at this offense specifically is like, yeah, strength has improved. How do you make sure that you're still an effective football team? When these other metrics regress, can we improve in other areas? Can we improve in explosive percentage? I think they've taken steps to do that. It just depends on how much they're able to actualize that, I guess, is the thing that I don't have a great answer because I haven't seen them play yet. I haven't seen them practice. So we won't see that till Wednesday. But that's what I think the strength of. So Daniel's regression question is so interesting because, yes, there will be a regression of these statistics, right? But does that mean he's playing worse than he was last year? Probably not. It might express itself as this sophomore slump, which I think is kind of tough for fans to understand. Even though he's playing well, it might not be as well mathematically as it was last year. So I think I'm having a hard time negotiating.
Yeah, let me try to unpack that more because when you say it like that and you try to, like, if you say that sentence out loud, it kind of makes no sense. It's like he could be playing well, but he won't well. It's like, what?
Yes.
How does that work? If you through the stack process on your end of it, but the defense's rush is better and tip balls. Okay, that's more incompletions. Tip balls both at the line of scrimmage, tip balls at the catch point. Like, okay, those Jaden has done the same process, but the results are not as good. If he is taking more sacks because the rushes are better, because you're facing the Lions with Aiden Hutchinson in week 10, like that obviously is going to impact the statistics. If you balls that maybe last year went through guys' hand and fell incomplete because you had defensive backs on the other side as good as some of the ones you'll be playing this year, and those turn into interceptions. You lose bites at the apple. Your process is very similar, but the results are not as good. And those types of things obviously are very dependent on like the opportunities that you present the other team to make plays and their ability to convert on them. That's what makes good football play, convert on their opportunities. By the same token, they brought in guys to help raise what and Jaden, hopefully with another, yes, the league will have film on him, but he also has film on the league, and they're spending some time anticipating what some of the changes might be. To me, this is like one of the advantages of having an offensive head coach, where there's a ton of advantages, continuity's sake, to having an offensive head coach. If I'm Dan Quinn, I'm having a lot of meetings with Cliff this offseason, being like, if I was trying to stop based off what we did last year, here are some things. Let's be prepared to have our ready to go. Let's have plan B ready to go. So like, how does that process go? How smooth is it to get to the other things? How big is the bag that they have? Because obviously they were able to stay within a bag that Jaden performed really well at last year. Then you add in the person on this side of it. He's running for his life at times last year because Brandon Coleman, as he gets banged up later in the year, his performance falls off. Nami Tunsil, sweet. That is better. The run game just died in the second half last year from injuries and whatever else. And maybe this year it's better. Maybe this year it's worse. Who knows? Like you face better run defenses, for instance. So there's a lot of stuff that is circumstantial. Why football is so hard. Basketball, there's just less people on the floor or baseball, it's all these individual things. Why the statistical revolution in baseball was so was because every single pitch in a lot of ways is is isolated as you can have it. And so there's just too many factors to try to get intelligently. And the second you figure something out, a coach makes an adjustment, guy gets hurt. Like, these things change. And so that's hopefully, I think, at least at the beginning of that role, I answered the how do you play better or the same and also play worse at the same time question. But I think when you get into some of these variables and the variance of it all and some things that go your way, like, I think there's a lot of things where the Commanders can sure on and still be very, very good at a lot of the high variance things that were super high last year. But statistical, regression, math, averages, science says that eventually they're going to come back down to earth in some of those areas.
Yeah, and I think that you called attention to there, which I think is great, is the schematic element. Obviously, like on paper, you've made additions with certain people, right? And Laramie Tunsil's better than Brandon Coleman, right? And Brandon Coleman moving to guard makes the offense better. And you can kind of do that. But also, I think, like, seeing what Cliff did and seeing what Joe Witt Jr. did and seeing what he could do with his pieces in the defense, like, again, I think there's going to be an improvement there. I think the offense will be better. I think the defense will be better. I think the question is how much you're going to see that in terms of wins and losses. Like, because again, you're playing better quarterbacks, you're playing better defensive coordinators. Like, I think about the Minnesota Vikings and how befuddling that defense has been to top flight quarterbacks for years. Right? So I look at has been there really, and I think that's like, how do you handle that? Like, again, and this offense that Cliff has presented is befuddling. And I think at Jaden Daniels and his ability and what he did in the playoff game and how sharp he looked, and I know they lost the game, but like how that moment wasn't too big from him. Like, I just think, like, as a player, it's really hard to be up for 17 weeks of football. It's really, really challenging to do that. So last year, I'm not saying there were easy games, like, because they're not. They're all tough. It's just the level of difficulty is ramped up a little bit. So can Cliff be locked in for 17 weeks? Can Joe be locked in for 17 weeks? And most importantly, can the staff support Jaden Daniels to be locked in for 17 weeks? Because one of the questions was asking about the game. It's like, I know Jaden is like built different, right? But like the mental fatigue that presents is really, really challenging. And I think we saw that a little bit with Houston and CJ Stroud. Like they ran it back. They had this great offensive innovator in Bobby Slowick. CJ Stroud was like the second coming of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Like, that's the way it looked. But the offensive line took a regression from a schematic standpoint, and that affected CJ Stroud in a negative way. And CJ Stroud was still very productive. But people look and said, oh, he had a down year. But I'm like, the circumstances to that data set, right?
Yeah,
and, so
and for CJ specifically, it was compounding, right? Like, he started off the year still at a high level circumstances, and eventually he got broke. Like, they're missing throws, spraying throws that he used to hit. Also, he's got no one to throw to because Tank is hurt, Diggs gets hurt, Collins is hurt. Yeah. And so, like, it became CJ was playing through it until the moment that he wasn't.
Yeah, I think that's that again, and that's the thing is, like, and I don't think anybody thought that Book was going to take a position like that in terms of schematically elevating the year prior. So I think that's the other thing, like you talked about. Can Cliff stay in his bag, continue to innovate, find new ring to the offense? I think you brought up a great point. Like, that's the thing that does a great job of is self-scouting. Can they take advantage of this time? But I think that's where I think there's a lot of fans that are really, and they should be really excited. This is an exciting time to be a Washington Commanders fan. But in my mind, I'm always like, man, there's all these things that they need to make sure they're checking the boxes of. And as that list gets longer and longer, and even something we haven't talked about, on paper, the offensive line should be better. But like we talked about with Golick, like that group needs help. Sometimes the best individual offensive lineman does not make the best five. Like, they just don't communicate well. They don't get along well. It is like some of the best offensive lines I played with were guys like in 2012, that offensive line was fantastic. And if you went through and looked at all of them, you're not like, oh my gosh, these guys are all pro Hall of Fame guys. No, but guys that just played really well together and knew each other. Like Tyler Columbus played right tackle. Like Corey Lichtensteiger played right guard for that team, right? He weighed like 265 pounds at some points that year. And he's a great football. But nobody's like, Hall of Fame is Corey Lichtensteiger. Like, no, they just played
Trent and everybody else.
Yeah, and I think that's something. And Trent was still young at the time. He wasn't kind of the dominant, monolith for the position that he is. Yeah, he was close. I'm not trying to Trent when he was here, but
Yeah.
but I think that's stuff that's all so challenging. You mentioned how challenging is football. When fans bring question, these are things like, how does the O-line come together? Does Jeff continue to improve? Does Joe Witt continue to improve? Does the free agency personnel along the defensive line play the way I think they're going to play? These are that need to be answered. And then you handle tighter game. The other thing that we haven't even talked about, with more primetime games, right, there's pressure. But when you're playing better football teams, you're kind of walking that razor's edge of that last year. But it's going to be even more acute because teams are good teams in late game scenarios. So, and scenarios, 2-minute situation, red zone becomes a little bit more difficult. How do you handle that? And then people say, well, that doesn't really affect Jaden, but it does, because he's going to have to perform in those situations the way a top 5 type quarterback does in the NFL. And if he doesn't, I think a lot of people are like, oh, look, he's regressed. But again, I don't know if that's necessarily fair, because the standard has improved so dramatically because of the opponents, because of the quarterbacks, because of the quality of team.
The good news is they did all that stuff last year at a high level. Yeah. And, it feels like they're going to be that good again. Like, are you going to win, what was it, 7 straight games in the final offensive possession? Like, that's ridiculous. But they have experience doing it. And Jaden has experience, and there's a high level of belief. And ultimately, like I've said before too, I think on this show and certainly on the radio show, I'd rather have these problems than like the Giants problems or one of these teams, the Browns problems. Like, I don't want those problems. I don't want we don't know who our quarterback is, where our schedule is not that hard, but we're also not that good problems. This is the burden of being a good. The Ravens don't complain about their Chiefs, don't complain about their schedule. The Bills don't complain about their schedule. They go out and they play it, win most of the games because they're better. And that is the echelon the Washington Commanders 2 years into Daniel's era find themselves in. Athletic Football Show.
That point you bring up there is the crux of it, right? Is like they did it for 1 year. Good teams do it year on year. And so how do you build a team and build a mindset, a culture, get that done? I think that's the thing. Maybe that is the underlying question to all of this, right? Is, are you ready to be a consistently good football team? Because it's different. It's different once and do it multiple years in a row. And I think that to me is maybe the underlying. We talk about analytics and data and guys coming together and offensive innovation, but really, are you ready as a team and as a staff to be good year on year for the next 5 years while Daniel is on his rookie contract?
It's organizational too. It's like, does everybody, like, people don't even know it exists, are they doing their jobs at a high level? Like, that's kind of the secret of it. And I was about to say, the Athletic Football Show is doing their like questions of the buy or sell series, and they're lumping all the teams together. I'm pretty sure they have the Commanders in the contenders tier. Like, they're already there. And, you got all these national rankings about quarterbacks, and Jaden, Mike Clay from ESPN, had his fantasy rankings. Jaden's #1 quarterback. Mina Kimes did her quarterback rankings show with Ali Conley, and after the Big Four, she came up 5th. And like, I think that's the correct answer. I think I think he is the best quarterback in the NFC, and that automatically is going to put you in contention because you have the best quarterback in the conference. And the Eagles are great, better roster. I'd rather be the Eagles roster wise. The whole of the way the pieces fit together, the strength of live scrimmage, but it is fantastic. I don't think any team acquired a player in the offseason better than Laramie Tunsil. Any team anywhere in the whole league. And if you frame it that way, very easy to be optimistic. So you're telling me you got the best quarterback conference, just got one of the 3 best left tackles in the sport, and also there's a trickle down that we hope is going to affect offensive line positively, and they're going to be more consistently up front defensively. Like, it tell you those 3 things, then off a team that was 12-5 and went to the NFC Championship game last year, then it's really easy to be okay, great about this Washington Commanders team. But I think it's also easy to pick apart, like, okay, well, how did they go 12-5 last year? They wildly overperformed expectations. They had historical greatness in very variance areas. Like, there's a lot of ways you can get apart, and that is, I think, more than anything else, Logan, like, that's May in the NFL. Unless you are, that is DOA, where you're just like, our roster is not good enough at all. There's no real hope that our quarterback is good. And so, like, basically, sorry, Cleveland, it's kind of the Browns. Right? There is almost no scenario where you look at the Cleveland Browns in 2025 and they're good.
Right.
But like the Titans are looking at Cam Ward and they're like, what if he's Jaden Daniels?
Right.
Like every other team in the league, if you squint hard enough, you could see how it goes sideways, how it goes great. And it's just playing percentage in terms of, if you're betting on the over-unders of which way you think it's going to go.
But I think that this is a great point that you brought up, maybe by accident. But I think you look at the teams in the NFL that have like the guys, you look at Josh Allen, you look at your Lamar Jackson, you look at your Patrick Mahomes, you look at your Joe Burrow, the big four. Like, they're going to be good. They're going to find a way to be good, especially if Cincinnati gets the defense fixed, right? And so I think maybe that is maybe, we talked about, is the team ready to be consistent good? Is Jaden Daniels ready to be? Because we talk about Josh Allen all the time. We talk about, like, it took a couple of years to kind of, Josh Allen was a 3-year cycle. Lamar was kind of like a half kind of learning curve. And so it does take time to kind of like be a consistent winner and be that dominant force in the NFL. And so maybe that's another question I have, is like, that's a big ask for a young guy. And I was just thinking about it when we were getting ready for the show. I have never been more impressed with a rookie football player in my entire life watching a team. Like, he was that good. But it's a different thing to take it from that 1 year, say, I'm going to be, again, I'm going to say Tom Brady, whoever, insert your
thing, let's say Mahomes, because the one guy who did not was Mahomes. Like, he sat for a year. He was good in the one game he played, but then he was in year two. It was very different for him, because year one of him playing, year two of him in the league, like, he was doing a lot of running around with like a chicken with his head cut off. They had a lot of deep stuff. The roster was, he was just throwing the ball long to Tyreek. Like, it's going great for him. And then he has come this like supercomputer, just dice you all over the place. The offense is way more structured now, evolved as a player. And Jaden had stretches like where he's just making stuff up, making it happen, Sandlot style.
Incredible. Like, again, like we said, like, nobody, like, we love him, and there's nobody better, right, in terms of like rookie performance. But it's a different level to go and be, I'm consistently this guy now. I'm the guy that's going to make $70 million 5 years. Like, it's a different ball of wax. Is the team ready? Is he ready? Again, like, every indication would say yes, but like, ultimately that's like what we're talking about.
And I think optimism for him, the fact that like when he did that stuff, it's because he had to, for the most part. I mean, he's and stuff occasionally, but every quarterback does that. Like, Lamar does that. But when he was allowed to sit back in the pocket, he was awesome in structure too. Yeah. And so that's what gives me, I think, the hope that it's going to be really, really good and there's not going to be a huge regression. But what does that mean for the team? What does that mean for the win total based off of the opponents, off of what the roster is? I think that's TBD, because it's May and the season doesn't start till September.
It's May. We haven't even watched a practice. Like, but these are concerns. It's good to talk about them. The thing that I go back to is always, I think, is really good at predicting win-loss totals. They're at 8.5 right now. And I think they've looked at these questions and they probably say, like, mathematically, like even the one-score game thing, I forgot about that when we were talking at the top of the show. Like, that is, it regresses to the mean, right? You don't normally win 7 out of 8. It's pretty much 50-50 all the time. If that regresses and they lose 3 more games, almost, you're, what is that? You're at 9 right there, just off of that.
Yeah. So there's your 8.5. You're over, but not by much.
Yeah. And again, like, that doesn't mean, and again, like with the 4th down thing, like, there's a couple things that make you go, okay, but and I'm really glad you brought this up. That's where the Joe Witt Jr., that's where the offensive defensive staffs come in and drive this thing. So ultimately, like, I think this kind of sits on, like, if I had to say 3 things, it's Jaden Daniels, it's the offensive staff. Like, can you get that, and like how the team gels? And I know that's kind of a soft kind of eval, but like, I'll tell you, man, some of the best teams I played on they just figured it out. They just, and I can't really give you the magic formula for why or why not it does happen. But I will say, the guy that I'm going to bet on that's going to make it happen, it's Dan Quinn. because we talked about this a ton, like his ability to create culture, to create locker rooms, to create cohesion is extremely high. And you've got guys like Zach, you've got guys like Bobby, you've got guys like Austin that have been there, done that. And Jay Daniels as a leader in his own.
There was nothing but success in San Francisco till last season, basically.
So, like, if you can get it all together, if one guy that can stir it up and make it happen, it's Dan Quinn. So, again, I'm probably leaning over just because I trust him so much. I trust the character and composition of Jaden Daniels, but I think there's a lot of questions about it, just from a math standpoint that make you say, hey, and again, like Jaden Daniels might be better this year. He might have a higher percentage of big time throws. He might be better in terms of big time throws on first down, average depth of target, some of those advanced kind of quarterback metrics, but they might lose less games. And so I think that's ultimately and I kind of expect them to lose. I'm expect them to lose more games, and I expect them to lose more games, but can they make playoffs, and then can you make a run? And that's really what I'm kind of hoping for as a Commanders fan this year.
And like you said, we haven't even watched a practice yet, but we watched Wednesday, so we'll know everything, all the answers by that day. So make sure you tune in later. All right, so you heard me and Logan break it all down there. The schedule and some of the very specific ways the Commanders found success in 2024, now going to be more difficult in 2025. You buying that? You selling that? 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. How concerned are you about how difficult the road ahead is for the Commanders? We take your calls next. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Where right now, I look like I'm about to tell ghost stories because I had to adjust my light. And as I realized I was doing that on camera, mwahaha.
I think the hat also helps.
Yeah, it captures everything. It really gets me ghost story. I'm like, how do I make a ghost story out of the Commander's schedule? Deep in the forests of Ashburn, Virginia. I don't know. A team prepares for a season that's going to be hard. And somewhere 30 miles away, a radio host sucks at telling ghost stories. All right. You just heard Logan and I talk about the schedule, but it's also how the schedule interacts with what this team was in 2024, right? It's, if we're being honest, which is everyone's favorite thing, the Commanders had a fairly improbable 2024 season, right? And I don't just mean like they had the number 2 pick. It worked out. He had the best rookie season ever. All their most of their free agent stuff hit. They were able to overcome some of the things that didn't hit. They had decent enough injury luck for long enough. And also, did I mention that number 2 pick thing, having the most ridiculous rookie season that we've ever seen from a quarterback? Like, I'm not talking about the improbability just of the story. They had the best 4th down percentage in 30-something years in the NFL, conversion-wise, on a pretty high volume. They went for it a lot, and they converted 87%, I think it was. That's preposterous. Their 3rd down percentage was good. They had a bunch of other things. You know, their 2-point percentage was high. Like, they had a bunch of stuff. Their record in 1-score games, I mean, what was it, 7 games in a row, Anthony decided, on the final offensive possession for Washington or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was the last 5.
Yeah.
Or so.
So they were awesome situationally. And year over year, those things tend to not sustain. The best predictor of how good you'll be year over year is success rate on 1st and 2nd down in the first half. Because that tells a lot about who you truly are on the repeatable parts of your offense. Now, obviously, that comes with its own set of caveats when you're talking about year over year, because if your quarterback changes or you have a major personnel change or whatever, like those numbers can shift. But it is easier to predict the 1st and 2nd down success in the first half than it is 3rd down situations, what's going to happen in late game situations, on down the list of things that we deem situational football. And so I think you can take an optimist or a pessimist view because it's May and we don't have any idea how this is going to go yet. You want the optimist or the pessimist view first, Anthony?
I want the optimistic view.
So you want me to rain on the parade at the end? Thanks. Although this is probably good. We never get a second chance to make a first impression. So the optimist view is actually fairly simple. The biggest driver of or the 2 biggest drivers of success of their situational excellence last year were Jaden Daniels, who theoretically should be even better in year 2, and the fact that they practice the hell out of situations. They practice situational football more than any team that Logan was ever on or around, that Santana, that Smoot, like all those guys that we hear talk about football that have played in the last 25 years of the NFL. All those dudes that played for all those different coaches and all those different organizations and franchises have never, including, by the way, Logan Paulson with Dan Quinn, who practiced it more than anywhere else in his career when he was with him in 2017 in Atlanta, or 2016 in Atlanta. Nobody has ever seen the amount of situational work that the Commanders put in. So you can call it a fluke based off the percentages, and there is undoubtedly an element of, let's call it luck, to their success, but there's also real substance behind their success. And so you have this quarterback who tends to break defenses in those situations, combined with a team that is ready for those situations. And I would be kind of surprised, frankly, and this is not me being an optimist, this is me being a realist. I would be surprised if the Commanders aren't one of the best 3rd and 4th down teams in the NFL in 2025, offensively, because they're built for it. The pessimist view is you're now facing significantly harder opponents. And so some of the excellence you had in those situations where the rubber meets the road they got a, I don't know how to extend the rubber in the road analogy. Now are we in monster trucks and they got a bigger truck? Like we used to run over some Ford Pintos and VW Bugs, and now it's like, oh, they have a monster car too. They have a rally truck. We're gonna run into each other and we might come out okay, but we might catch some damage, as opposed to we're just gonna run over that little thing that's in our way. And so that is the pessimist view, is you have these stats that are highly variable to begin with. There is almost, just based off math, no chance of repeating the success you had last year anyway. And now the fight is going to be fair. You're not facing Carolina. You're not facing some of the worst teams in the league. Shoot, even the quote-unquote bad teams that you are facing, the teams that you have to face based off division, right? You have your own. The Giants' front seven is nasty. You have the Bears were the last place team in the NFC North last year, and they are probably going to be better. You have the AFC West. I mean, okay, who's the worst team in the AFC West? Is it the Raiders, who now have Geno Smith on offense and Pete Carroll guiding the defense? Like, you just don't have a lot of layups on the schedule. And so I think that is where you can, if you want to have concern and you like getting worked up over things you can't control, that's a good one to do in May. And I think the biggest question about this Commander season and how successful it can be is the competition and the razor thin margins that they won games on last year, feeling impossible to repeat just a year later.
All right, so I think my question is twofold. One, why are we failing to realize what we did in the playoffs? I understand like the playoffs is separate of the regular season, but who's to say, the better teams that we face in the playoffs, we don't play up to we play up to their level. And some of those teams like the Bears, some teams like the Saints, some teams like who else was not good on our schedule, we played down to the level of competition. And the thing is, Craig, we see this all the time in the NFL. We've seen the Raiders go out there and beat we saw the Raiders beat the Ravens last year, and we're like, how did the Raiders go out here and destroy the Ravens like that? And it's because it's a week-to-week league, and then also sometimes teams just don't get up for those lesser team games kind of thing. So I think when it came down to us, having to play those better teams, the Bucs the second time around, we weren't ready the first time around. The second time we were ready. We played the Lions last year. Everybody was scared about this high-powered offense, and they probably did have a bad day. But at the same token, we were ready for the test. The Eagles, all right.
Who else was ready for them?
Yeah. So I think we play up to. I think when I look at this season, I think we just can't play. We can't pick and choose when we want to play up to a team's level or play down to a team's level.
Well, and that's the thing is, right, if you have an off week. Because you can say, like, oh, did they play down to some teams? I guess there might have been one or two. You certainly didn't play well enough against the Giants in week 2. You certainly didn't play well enough against, you didn't take advantage of opportunities against the Cowboys. That's a good one. And then the Bears, too. They weren't very good. They hadn't been broken yet.
We're struggling with execution.
But the Commanders dominated that game, and then all of a sudden the Bears are up, and then the Hail Mary happens, and then the Bears weren't up anymore. But you do that against other teams, and by the way, you play perfectly fine against Carolina without Jaden, right? You house them. It was 40-7 or whatever it was. So they also had plenty of days where they just flat out took care of business. And it's like, okay, the margin for error is just that much slimmer. And again, I come down on my true opinion is I come down on the optimist side of this. I think that when you have one of them dudes, and 5 is one of them dudes, not that the other stuff doesn't matter, it's just it matters less than having him. He will make you right more weeks than not. Having him, and if he's healthy for 17, I don't want to say guarantees you, because, Joe Burrow last year, the Bengals defense was so bad that they couldn't get out of their own way. But even then, they finished at 9-8, didn't they? If Jaden is really in that class with Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar, they're winning 9 games. Now, the rest of it gets to tell you how much better than 9 they get. But if he's actually that good, which I think that he is, and he's built like that, you win 9. And so it's going to come down to, can you do all that stuff? And is he that good? Is he that much of a killer on 4th down? Is he that much of a killer in 3rd down situations? Will he stare down the barrel of blitzes again and just, hey, Terry, you're out there. Terry's out there somewhere. Find it. And so those are the things that I wonder. I think they are built, for whatever it's worth, also to not have to live in some of those high leverage situations as much as they did last year. They thrived in high leverage situations. They also were in a ton of them. I think this is a football team that is built to win on 1st and 2nd down in a much more sustainable way this year. The way they built the offensive line and, frankly, the way they built the defensive line to be better against the run. I think this is a more sustainable football team, but we're not going to know that until September. And I repeat, it is May. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, the age-old question that we ask on Tuesdays or Mondays, whenever we're coming off a weekend, what else happened this weekend? We take a look around the world of sports, plenty of other stories, if you will, next on the Hoffman Show. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. We're 100 days from the NFL season kicking off, and there's some fun prop bets of the first to 100, let's say, completions, 100 catches, 100 tackles, all that fun stuff. Anthony's got a list. We're going to put our bets in coming up at 6 p.m. Also, tomorrow on the show, Commanders minority partner Mark Ein is going to be with us. Of course, also the chair of the Mudbala City Open. So we will talk to Mark tomorrow on the show amidst everything else that we have going on with OTAs being a feature presentation tomorrow as well. As for right now, what else happened this weekend? Also known as our Weekend in Review, which is brought to you by
Mr. Craig Hoffman.
Yes.
Nobody.
Yes, uh-oh. Oh, you just.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, man.
Oh. You know, there's actual good news for the Nationals
Uh-oh.
last weekend. This weekend, it came to a bit of a halt. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Giants, but much more competitive. Obviously, won the game on won the game on Sunday. And then yesterday, the 3-2 loss. That was after they swept the Braves and swept the Orioles. So they had been in a super bad way before that. Losers of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row. 8 of 9, but then we're able to flip it around, a 5-game winning streak. And then they will take their show on the road to the Mariners tonight. I will say, I want to see if I can find time this week in the show to talk about the piece that Ken Rosenthal wrote in The Athletic about how the Nationals should now be included in discussions of Major League Baseball's bottom feeders. It's a very interesting article because, Anthony, it's not like, yes, based off win-losses, and yes, based off some of the scouting errors that they've made, but also they have all this young talent that is about ready to bubble up to the surface. And a lot of the premise of the article is that they're not going to be able to retain any of it because a bunch of them are Scott Boras guys, and we know how that goes in terms of the highest bidder and them wanting to get to free agency and not being able to sign extensions. And so will Mike Rizzo be forced to trade some of these guys? It's just a very interesting premise because I think, and it like crushes the Lerners for not having spent money. And I think that clearly the Lerners have said we're going to not be very good right now. And so while we're not very good, we are just going to take very minimal payroll and save a bunch of money. And from a business standpoint, I get that, even if it absolutely sucks for fans. And I don't think it's the way you should run a sports team, especially one with no salary cap. But the Nationals have the number 1 overall pick coming up in the draft. And so how does that affect, do they take like a college pitcher who's more major league ready or a high school kid? Like there's a lot of stuff that's going on in that article. And so maybe like Friday or something, we can have Toby pop over. Toby Altizer, of course, you guys know from 106.7 The Fan and our Bustin' Loose Baseball podcast, and maybe have Toby talk about that with us here on the show. But Nats this weekend, losers of 2 out of 3, but at least we are far away from that 7-game skid just a couple of weeks ago. Road Warriors, that's what the Washington Spirit are, Anthony. They got another win this weekend. They are 5-0-0 on the road. 5-0-0.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And what is their home record?
1-3-1. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is hard to win on the road in the National Women's Soccer League, and they have done it. Not tied, not just when you're on the road, like, hey, let's get a point and get out of here. Nope. Those Goobers are out there beating Seattle Friday night, 2-1 win, and they are 5-0-0 on the road. That keeps them in the top part of the table going into the international break. There is a ton of Spirit players who are playing internationally this weekend, including Tara McKeown for the U.S. women's national team. They'll take on China on Saturday in a friendly. Season resumes June 8th at home against North Carolina. Mystics this weekend, man, gotta close games. Two tough losses, and the more I watch this team, the more I realize just how big of a deal the Georgia Amore injury was. Like, there is so clearly, Anthony, on the Washington Mystics right now. We'll talk about them more tomorrow as they host the Fever in Baltimore. But there is such a point guard size hole on this team. And hopefully they can get everybody right. Hopefully, Shakir Austin's coming back soon from the concussion. Aaliyah Edwards back in the lineup. Great to see. Slim only missed one game with whatever was going on with her leg. But just late in these games, although they're playing really well, Sonia Citron is the current favorite for Rookie of the Year. Kiki Iriafen is probably second in Rookie of the Year voting right now. It's the third rookie, Georgia Amore, who they're missing, where they just need a point guard at times to get them organized. I mean, they had 18 turnovers in the first half against Phoenix. 18 on Sunday.
It's a lot, man.
Not ideal. Not ideal. So hopefully they can get that straightened out. Anything else that happened this weekend? Oh, Formula One was in Monaco. The two-stop pit strategy deal was better than previous Monaco Grand Prix, but still, you literally can't pass anybody because the cars are too big and the road is too small. That's a problem for a race. They got to figure that out. The cars are getting smaller based off regulations next year. Anything else happen this weekend, Anthony? Now time for the, hey, Anthony, was there any boxing this weekend update?
No, there's a big boxing weekend this weekend, though.
But you know what that's for?
That's for the weekend preview.
Which is brought to you by?
The same person that sponsors this one. Nobody, sir.
No, nobody. When we get back, a segment that's also not sponsored, it's 6 o'clock. We're going to be talking about some of the odds-on favorites to be the first to accomplish 100 things in the NFL season. Why? Because we're 100 days from the NFL season. Who's going to have 100 completions first? Who's going to have 100 tackles first? We will chop it up, have a little football fun here in May, next on The Hoffman Show. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980 for one more hour, as we are every day. Tomorrow, loaded up, as we will be at, or I will be at OTAs, watching practice. So we'll have reflections. Well, you'll hear from Cliff Kingsbury. You'll hear from Dan Quinn. Hopefully be able to get one of the Commanders' rookies interview live and in person on the show as well. Or I say in person, we'll play it for you on the show. So excited for that tomorrow. Also, Mark Ein on the show tomorrow. Commanders minority partner and chairman, CEO of the Mubala City Open, which is back this summer in D.C. with a heck of a lineup if you're a tennis fan or if you're a food fan. So we'll talk about all of the tennis and the food and the Commanders with Mark tomorrow. But right now, Anthony, it is May 27th, which has a special significance on the NFL calendar, if you like round numbers. We are 100 days from kickoff. That's right, 100 days from kickoff. Anthony, I can't tell whether people at home could hear you clapping. I could hear you through the glass and my headphones, but your mic, I don't think, was on. So I don't know if people could hear that you were clapping in the background in excitement.
Was I clapping that loud?
Yeah, I heard the through the glass and through my headphones as I was talking.
This is how it goes.
Yeah, he's a loud clapper.
Dang, that is loud, Craig.
Yeah, that's a loud clap. All right. So in the spirit of 100 here, we're gonna keeping it 100. That's what we should have called this segment. Anthony, you have some predictions that we're gonna make. You have a couple of categories. Do you have betting odds on this as well, or do you just have the categories and we're gonna good guess?
I have the categories. I do not have the betting odds.
Okay. All right. So how many or who will be the first to 100 in these categories? Anthony, fire away. Wait, hold on. Don't fire away yet. Wait. Now fire away.
All right. I think I'm going to go in order of which will be achieved the fastest.
Okay.
So I'm going to start out with the running back position. Which running back will be the first to 100 touches? Not 100 carries, touches. That means catches and rushes.
My guess, let's see. Last year, the leader in rushing attempts, I'm guessing, was Saquon Barkley. Yes, it was Saquon.
Yeah.
He also gets the ball in the passing game. So my guess would be Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I think I don't need to overthink it either. The Eagles understood what the formula was for, their success, and I think they're going to ride that wave. So my bet, if I was to bet, it would be Saquon. But if it wasn't Saquon, who would you say? I would go either Bijan or Ashton Genty, who has lofty expectations for his year one rookie year.
Ooh, that's a good call with Genty. Yeah, I would say probably Bijan. Derrick Henry's got to be up there. I mean, Henry's going to get a ton of carries. He's not going to get a ton of catches.
Exactly.
But I also don't want to overthink the difference between 2 and 4 catches a game.
True.
The carries are going to be the thing that drives it. The running back who had the most targets last year was Alvin Kamara. I don't know that they're going to go that heavy, but he's probably a sleeper pick. Would be Kamara. But I'm gonna say, where was he in rushing attempts though? Kamara was way down the list. I mean, he only played 14 games, so that's part of it. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Barkley, Bijan, Henry.
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor's another good sleeper.
Oh, he is.
Because there's a chance they give him 40 carries in a game.
Yeah, I would go Barkley,
he had
Bijan,
300
Ashton Genty.
So Barkley played 16 last year, had 345 carries. Henry and Bijan played 17, 325, 304. Jonathan Taylor had 14 carries last year. 14 games played, 303 carries.
Damn.
So Taylor actually probably is the right answer.
Yeah, he might actually be.
All right. Who's next?
All right, next. Who will be the first quarterback with 100 completions?
As long as he's healthy, the answer is Joe Burrow. They sling the ball all over the damn place. He led the NFL in completions last year by 53. He had 460 completions. He also led the NFL in attempts by more than 53. By a lot. So he throws at a high percentage. He completed 70% of his passes last year. That was good for, let's see, amongst actual starting quarterbacks, that was 4th if you count Tua. He played 11 games. Of guys that played like 15 or more, he's 3rd behind Goff and Baker in percentage. Just tell me, get a guy with a high percentage and high volume, Joe Burrow.
I like Joe. I think I'm going to go Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay.
I think they throw a lot of screens. He likes to get the ball out really quickly. Also, the screens are an extension of their run game. So I will go there. I don't think their run game is going to be as effective as it was like 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was. So I think they're going to lean heavily on him. My bet would be Tua. I like Joe, though. I do like Joe.
Joe, by the way, you know who was 2nd in the NFL in attempts last year?
Jared Goff.
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Terrible completion percentage, probably.
63%.
Not
Rodgers last year was 2nd in attempts and 8th in yards.
Wow.
Not good. Not good. All right. What's next?
All right, next is who will be the first player with 100 tackles?
I mean, I think the correct answer is probably a friend of the show.
Yes, sir.
Zaire Franklin's led the NFL in tackles 2 years in a row.
Yes, sir.
So Zaire Franklin.
Actually, no. Bobby beat him out by
Oh, that's true. Bobby
4
did beat
tackles
him
or
out
5 tackles like 2 years ago.
when he was with the Rams. Yeah, I'm gonna say. I mean, Bobby last year had 132 tackles. He was down to 18th in this defense. Zaire had 173. Absolutely ridiculous stat. Buda Baker was 2nd in the NFL last year as a safety.
He was a tackling machine.
164. Robert Spillane, who signed with New England this offseason, he had 158. Jamie and Sherwood had 158. He's with the Jets. And that's the thing, is like, I can name a bunch of dudes who were top 10 in the NFL in tackles, and I bet you don't even know who they play for.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a meaningless stat, obviously, but it is it's an insignificant stat in terms of how good you are at defense. But Zaire has been a tackling machine. He's very good at defense. Give me Z.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Z as well. He's trying to be better than he was last year, so I think
My only thing is they have a different DC, right?
Say that again?
They have a different DC this year, right?
Yeah, Lou Anaromo.
So, I mean, Jermaine Pratt did finish 10th last year. He was the highest Bengal, so that would be my only thing. Nick Cross, safety for the Colts, also had 100, well over 100 tackles. He was 9th. So you got 2 Colts. Now you got a different system. Someone's still got to make tackles. I'm going to say Zaire's going to make a lot of tackles.
Yes, sir. And last one, who will be the first wide receiver with 100 receptions? And I'll let you know this. There were only 10 who had 100 receptions last year. Only 10.
So I think the answer is probably Jamar. Like,
Okay.
as long as Jamar Chase is healthy, like, he led the NFL in catches and targets last year, so he gets more opportunities than anyone else. He also has that you can't just like double him all the time. Amon-Ra St. Brown is tempting. Brock Bowers is a little tempting. Malik Neighbors, they're probably going to force feed the hell out of him. If you want like a real sleeper, he was, wait, where'd it go? Come on, come back. Was it yards that I had it sorted by? Yeah. Brian Thomas Jr. had 133 targets last year and was 3rd in the NFL in yards. He only had 87 catches on the year, though. I'm like, can he be better this year? He's probably more of a yards per catch than a total volume guy. Chase is probably the right answer. Jeffers, obviously, JJ, or Jetta catching balls from JJ McCarthy. They're going to force feed the hell out of him, too.
So
Chase.
Chase is your guy.
Chase. I'm picking favorites here.
I'm going Malik Neighbors, man. The targets he was getting last
like, who's the guy? Like, he's gonna get doubled all the time. Who else in that offense scares you remotely?
I mean, they signed Darius Slade, so even though they were trying to cut him for like the last 5 years.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, I don't know. But the thing is, though, Craig, even though teams knew they were going to go to Malik Neighbors, he still found a way to get off. So
yeah, he had
if
109
it's not chasing
catches
him.
as a rookie. He's awesome. I love Malik Neighbors, but I'll go with Jamar. I know, not very exciting, but I'm going to go with Jamar. As I look up on the screen,
We didn't even say CD.
That's a great call too.
But he's going to be splitting with George Pickens. But that still is Dak's favorite target.
CD's the volume guy, and in fact, his life should be a little bit easier. 152 targets and 101 catches last year in just 15 games. CD's so good, but Jamar, Lad McConkey's a fun other one too. He's going to get 1 million balls this year from Justin Herbert. All right, those are our predictions. Write them down in stone, and then hopefully don't throw those stones at us when the season starts, gets underway, and we're eventually wrong. Coming up next, Anthony tried to make me feel old last night. We'll explain next, but first, the latest from the world of women's sports, presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you want it at Wawa with customizable roasted and crispy chicken sandwiches. Preview Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals coming up at 6:30 here on the Hoffman Show. Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Last night, it was, actually, let me see exactly what time it was. It was 7:41 p.m. I'm sitting on my couch. I think we were watching TV. Like I still haven't finished Full Court Press, the women's hoops documentary series that had Kiki Irifin in it. Also was Hannah Hidalgo, Flau'jae Johnson. It just wasn't as good this year. Last year's series was awesome. This year is not as exciting. But I want to watch it because Kiki's in it, and she's with the Sticks now, obviously. I think that's what we were watching. I might have been playing Madden. I don't know. I'm sitting there on my couch, just basically waiting for the Western Conference Finals to start. And my phone rings, and it's Anthony Haney. And my first thought is like, very millennial of me. What's wrong? Why is he calling me on the night before we're about to go back to work? Is he about to tell me that he quit and is getting a new job? Is he out sick? Did he have a death in the family? Like, I don't know what's wrong, but I can't possibly think of a good reason why Anthony is calling me on holiday weekend Monday night before we go back to work on Tuesday. So I pick up the phone. And, Anthony, why were you calling me?
Craig, I was calling to tell you good night, because I
Yes.
know you often go to bed a little earlier than I do, and I definitely did not think you were going to stay up and watch the entirety of the Western Conference Finals.
And
So-
to your credit, I didn't. I went to bed. I think I actually fell asleep on the couch last night at halftime. I didn't even make it upstairs. All of a sudden, I was like, my arm is tingly. Oh, I'm still on the couch. Look over. Rachel's like, you ready to go upstairs? I was like, clearly. I was just out. So I made it to halftime last night. And then I believe I fell asleep on the couch. But at 7:40 p.m., Anthony, that was a bit early. But now people are probably like, wait, do you guys normally call each other to say goodnight? And the answer is no. No, we don't. That's not Anthony typically calls me during the day when we have to talk about the show. We don't regularly talk to each other the night before, even be like, hey, what's up on the show tomorrow? Like, the show ends at 7 o'clock every night. But there's been a TikTok trend going around where men call their friends to say goodnight. And Anthony was, trying to pull a prank on me by calling me at 7:40 p.m. to insinuate that I'm old and go to bed really early, and pull that particular stunt at 7:40 p.m. And 2, assumed that I wasn't hip to it. And Anthony, I'm proud to report, you're 0 for 2.
Yeah, you were definitely aware, and I'm a little sad because I was really looking forward to it. I was really trying to get ahead of you falling asleep. That's what I was trying to do. So the 7:40 might have been a little premature, but I didn't know, if you were going to be awake. So my bad.
A little premature. He says about 7:40 p.m. when we work together until 7 p.m. every. Anthony, there are days I don't get home until 7:40 from this show.
Right.
Didn't really think that math out, did you?
Nah.
No. You also thought that I wouldn't know about the trend, which might have been true had I not forgotten to play the entirety of last week. Mike Sainer still participating in this very trend, including his first call to Jaden Daniels. So I was hip to the trend.
Yeah, it just didn't register. And part of the reason it didn't register, so I have a brother who's 34 years old.
Yeah, this is the other, hold on, before you say this. The other best part of this is you were just doing the trend, but you weren't filming it.
No, I wasn't.
'Cause this would be the point where we play for you the audio of Anthony trying to prank me. The problem is there is no audio because Anthony wasn't doing this for TikTok or Instagram. He was just doing it for funsies, which my question is, why?
I just wanted to see if I could get you.
But I'm guessing I wasn't the only one.
No, you weren't. You were not. I had previously had just called. Well, I called my brother the night before, and he's
What time?
He's 34 years old. I want to say it was 11:30 or 12 when I called him, and I knew for a fact you were asleep then, Craig. I knew you were. So there was no
I
chance
almost
I
just
would
spit out my water. How offended I am! You called him at 11:30, and you called me at 7:40. I want to come over there and just keep going.
So yeah, I called
Dig
him.
deeper. Just
I call him at 11:30 or 12, and he's wide awake. And so I'm like, "Hey, what's up, Brandon? What you up to, man?" He's like, "Nothing, man, just chilling." And I'm just like, I was calling to tell you good night, sweet dreams. And then he's like, he just starts busting out laughing. And then he was like, "What's going on?" And I'm just like, I can't control it because I'm a goofy person.
yeah. And
So-
you're also one of the worst pranksters that has ever walked. the
Yeah,
planet.
I'm not. I'm going to
You
give it
can
away.
get to the point that you execute it, and then you give away the game in 5 seconds.
5's easy, no question. So yeah, that's sort of kind of what happened. And then I explained him the joke, and then yeah, he was so confused. But yeah, so I tried to do it on you, Craig, and it didn't necessarily work.
So I was second in the pecking order, at least.
Sort of kind of.
Behind actual family. Although you did try other folks later that night, I just was second because you thought you had to call me by 7:40.
Yeah. My bad. I'll think it through next time. I'll be very good and very intentional about the joke that I try to put on Craig because it doesn't work so
Anthony,
far.
Do me a favor. Don't.
Just quit.
Yeah.
Just quit, Tony. Just quit.
just or don't. Just no. Rachel also had some funny. She was in the background because you were on. No, I don't think I had you on speakerphone. I think she just overheard what was happening and was like, "This is hilarious." She had some funny lines, and now I can't remember them, and now I'm sad about it.
Oh, and Rachel knows the trend as well, huh?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. She not man, whatever. Now should call her. Be like, I'm not calling to wish you good night. I'm calling you to ask what funny things you said, and I'll text her and we'll.
You know what I
report back
should
in
have
the break.
done?
What?
Actually, I'll do it tomorrow. I think I just gave it away.
Are you gonna call her?
And I was gonna call you in the morning and say, "Hey, Craig, we're just calling to wish you a happy Wednesday and good morning." Reverse of the good night.
Yeah, I mean, you could start a
The
new
inverse,
trend.
I guess.
Start a new trend. The thing is, I wake up way earlier than you.
Yeah, today I was up early,
How early were you up?
7:30. I texted you at like 7:40.
That's true. You did, because I made a typo in my my Instagram reel, which I just posted before you were awake because I was awake.
Yeah, I was getting my extra 5-10 minutes. I went to the gym at really early. That's why.
Yeah, I was on the air with the morning show at BetMGM at 8:20 this morning, and I had been awake for an hour, at least an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, you're a crazy man.
That's not voluntary. You get older, and also the light's coming in the wrong side of if your bedroom's on the wrong side of the street, not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah.
You just light be coming in. I'm getting targeted by a lot of ads for shades right now, and I'm about to buy all of them.
Good. I get the blackout shades. Those are
That's
the
what
ones I
want.
have.
I want because the ones we got ain't blackout enough. All right. So that's what happened last night. As for what's going to happen tonight, Eastern Conference Finals basketball. We'll preview it next. Open the show today talking about the Western Conference Finals. Eastern Conference Finals on deck tonight. If you want to hear about our thoughts on the Western Conference Finals, we'll rewind in the Odyssey app to the start of the show. Check out the podcast, rewind on YouTube. There's all kinds of different ways because here we are at the end of the show, final half hour of the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980, and it's time to talk about Pacers and Knicks. First, as you head home and get ready to watch this, you will see Aaron Nesmith tonight. He is available. ESPN's Shams Charania reporting that. Nesmith, of course, the Game 1 hero. Anthony is averaging 15 a game in this postseason. He's also been the primary defender on Jalen Brunson. But Game 3 really was on some level about Brunson, but it was much more about Karl Anthony Towns and the fact that the Pacers don't have an answer for him. He has destroyed them all season. And the best way to get Karl Anthony Towns to not destroy the Indiana Pacers is to get him in foul trouble. And I wonder how tonight is going to go, because if I were the Pacers, I would be trying to involve him in a lot of defensive actions and see if you can get him into foul trouble again. I also have zero level of trust in Karl Anthony Towns to put together back-to-back games. I think he has gotten better and better and better and better as his career has gone. He's become more and more consistent and more reliable. I just don't know that in a do-or-die spot with his confidence where it was coming off of Game 3, I'm like, is he going to come in overconfident? Is he going to try to do too much? Can I use some of that against him, get him in foul trouble again? And if so, can the Knicks find other things where it feels like they've done a lot of tinkering, done a lot of this, done a lot of that, and they were down 18 in Game 3, but ultimately were able to come back behind 20 points from Towns in the fourth.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have the utmost faith in Karl to duplicate Game 3's performance. He is going to be instrumental if they do want to have a chance, though, because again, like, he really can stretch the floor and be that second guy for them. But I think Tibbs, like the first two games anyway, I think he relied more on Mitchell Robinson's energy and just his defensive presence than Karl Anthony Towns. And I think that's part of the reason, he didn't play that much in Game 2. Like, he wasn't that much of a factor on the defensive side of the ball. So I think when you see in Game 3, he's rebounding, he's, having some type of presence on the defensive side of the ball on top of scoring. I think that's why we saw much more of him. So I think it's going to take a group effort. I expect him to not necessarily go out there and have 20 in a quarter, but definitely not be a liability out there where, you're not playing and you're not helping your team win.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There was a great point made on Zach Lowe's show by, I'm trying to remember this person's name, and I'm now looking at the title description, scroll by so slowly on my phone. Oh, it's Rob Mahoney, who is a basketball pundit. But Rob had a great point about Tom Thibodeau, and he goes, we cannot criticize Tibbs for being so stubborn, was the word that he used, about his lineups, about the way he wants to play, about all of these things, and then not give him credit when that stubbornness pays off. That in this particular case, when you think about the team and how it played, the Knicks and how they played in Game 3, it wasn't like Tibbs actually showed a lot more flexibility. He played Landry Shamet. He played Deuce McBride. He didn't play all of his guys 46 minutes. Like we saw, in part dictated to him by game situation and foul trouble with Brunson and Towns. But he made the starting lineup change. Like this is a guy who never changes his lineups. And here's Mitchell Robinson starting the game. I don't even know that worked. But there was a general stubbornness to the Knicks, positive, that helped them stick around when it seemed like they could let go of the rope in the second quarter. Halliburton's out there dancing. They're up 18. And, that held kind of through the third quarter, but at least it stabilized. And that gave the platform to then be within reaching distance in the fourth quarter. My question is, one, will Tibbs maintain that? And is that sustainable over multiple games versus short bursts of stubbornness? And two, on a larger level for the lineup stuff, he got forced into not playing Jalen Brunson, and it worked. Those defensive lineups really caused problems for Indiana. They created a bunch of live ball turnovers, and they played a little bit more conservative offensively, so Indiana wasn't creating turnovers on the other end. So there was just some stuff that worked. I don't know how sustainable that is. I have a hard time believing the New York Knicks are better off with Jalen Brunson out of the lineup for, 20 minutes tonight, considering he only played 31 in the last game. But I also do think like having some stretches where the defensive intensity cranks in the fourth quarter, not having Brunson to be able to target defensively, like I think both things are true. That the Knicks won Game 3 in part because Jalen Brunson did not have his normal role, and that I don't know that trying to repeat that is the best thing for Game 4. And if you're a coach, I don't know what you do with that information.
I think when he was on the bench, though, it allowed guys to, find their rhythm. So, again, Karl Anthony Towns, for instance, like we haven't seen him that aggressive all series long, but they found ways to get him the ball in his spots. And eventually when he had the high hand, he could take over. But Deuce McBride had some big shots. The Mikal Bridges of the world got involved. OG had an up-and-down game. But I think when Brunson's not in, and I'm not saying like they need to continue to play without Brunson, but it allows everybody else to get sort of kind of in a rhythm. And then defensively, you know what you're getting out of that unit. Like the intensity goes up. So Brunson, on one hand, does have to play better on the defensive side of the ball, but also let's see if everybody else can get in the rhythm and help Brunson out when he is in the game kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive stuff is also huge because they target him late in games. They're able to get matchups and able to create easy buckets. And when you can't do that, like it's just much more difficult to create offense. So that was a thing. And then the downside is, how do you score? Well, Karl Anthony Towns lost his bleeping mind, was hitting everything, and then you don't have the scoring deficit, and now it works. You have everybody more involved offensively. That translates to better defensive output, and you're just not having the drop-off of, oh, my God, we need a bucket, Jalen Brunson, please save us, which has been the way the Knicks have performed in crunch time all year, and it's been successful. Jalen Brunson won Clutch Player of the Year. So it's not that it's a bad strategy. It's just, okay, can we take some of the things that we liked from Game 3? Can we maybe move the ball a little bit more? Can we not be so Jalen reliant late in games? Can we get more guys in the rhythm? Can we say, hey, Jalen, we need you to do what Deuce did defensively, or at least your best impression of it. Deuce McBride's a better defensive player, but like here's where you need to be successful. Does that work? Or does Thibodeau potentially learn the wrong lesson, which is, let's not play Brunson as much? And is there a stretch in this game that we don't know it until later, but turns into a decisive stretch where the Knicks don't score for 4 minutes while Brunson's on the bench, and you try to go back to that well instead of like thinking that it's strategy instead of luck, And do you cost yourself the game? Like, these are the things. And maybe it is a strategy. Maybe like giving Brunson a little bit more rest and getting some more time with guys like Landry Shaman on the floor is a good idea. But it would be counter to how you've gotten here. And just because it worked once doesn't mean it's going to work twice. And like, that challenge is coaching in the NBA. Knowing your team well enough, knowing the matchup well enough, giving it your best shot. That is what it means to be a coach in the playoffs. And a guy like Rick Carlisle tends to hit the right buttons. And Carlisle, for whatever it's worth, after the game was pretty funny. He's like, yeah, it was a lot harder to create offense because of the lineups they had, basically being like, please don't play Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter. So I think we know which angle Carlisle would like them to go. But whether it actually works out or not, we're not going to know until tonight. And by the way, if Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals is any indication, this thing tonight could be an unbelievable game. It just feels like at this point in the series, the feeling out process is done. Everybody knows everybody. There's only so many adjustments to make. And now it's just like, we know what you're going to do. You know what we're going to do. And we're just going to go out there and play our faces off and see what happens. And that's what the Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals was last night. And, Indiana wins tonight. New York's not in as bad of a spot as Minnesota because New York at least still has 2 of the final 3 at home if they can get it to 7. But obviously, if Indiana can go win tonight, they have a chance to close it out in Game 5 at the Garden, where they've already won twice, and then a Game 6 back home before a Game 7 at the Garden. So a commanding 3-1 series lead, you might say, Anthony, because there's not any other kind.
Confidence level in the Knicks to get the job done. They're 6-1 on the road.
It's not a lack of confidence in the Knicks. I'm confident in the Pacers to bounce back.
Okay.
Like, I think tonight's going to be a great game, and I think the Pacers are going to win late. I think it's going to be good. I don't know. Like, there might be a double-digit lead at some point, but I don't know. Maybe it's recency bias. It's totally a vibe gut thing. But I think that it will play out much like last night, where it is a dogfight, close game for 4 quarters. And that's going to be really fun if we get that treat. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back, we wrap up the show with real things real people said and real microphones. Hoffman Show on Team 980. What's that blank eating grin you have on your face, Anthony? What's so funny over there? Is this something for real things?
Yes. Oh my gosh, this guy Charles Barkley is hilarious, man.
We got Chuck in real things. Pretty pumped about that. All right, well then quickly, I will tell you on the show tomorrow. Commanders minority owner Mark Ein is going to join us. We also will have a full recap of OTAs. You'll hear from Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn. Hopefully one of the Commanders rookies. I'll have my observations, obviously, from practice as well. I'll also see if I'll tag a reporter while I'm out there and be like, hey, what you doing at 5 o'clock? Which is one of my favorite things to do to beat guys and gals in person. Hey, what are you doing at 5 o'clock? And sometimes they'll be like, joining you on the radio, and be like, damn Skippy. Hell yeah, you are. So we'll see who's available tomorrow. Any other housekeeping we should do, Anthony?
I think that's all.
All right. Then we got a lot of things to get to. It's time for Real Things, Real People Said in Real Microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to be so this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right, let's, should we save Chuck GPT for last?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Let's start off with the Fever forward, Aaliyah Boston, former number 1 overall pick. She was at the Pacers-Knicks game and was very excited when Terry Crews popped up on the Jumbotron.
I must meet Terry Crews. I should be like, hi, Terry. You don't know who I am, but I love me. Everybody hates Chris. He didn't play about his money. That's where I got it from. I'm telling him that.
This part gets very muffled and it's hard to hear. But they meet. Terry Crews does know who Aaliyah Boston is. As someone who has seen Aaliyah Boston in person before, not just like at a game, when we were in Indiana last year, we were at a breakfast cafe and Aaliyah walked in and, past us. And I was like, that was Aaliyah Boston. She's very distinctive because there just aren't a lot of gals running around who are 6'5" with pink hair.
Yeah, that too.
So, I mean, if you know who she is, you know who she is. And I guess Terry Crews did know who she was.
Nah, that's mad dope meeting Terry Crews. And she was right. He does not play about. He's the most frugal TV character ever, probably.
I'm trying to think of a funny joke. I don't have one. We're just going to keep it moving. Francisco Lindor, obviously Mets superstar. Some of these mic'd up things are both cool and I hate them at the same time. This is one of them. It's very cool. Doing this during a game is kind of weird, but it's baseball. Whatever. Francisco Lindor mic'd up and in the, having the conversation with the booth on ESPN, and they had a special guest who joined them for this portion of the game.
Hi.
Hello.
So, I don't know if you recognize my voice.
Yes, that's your lovely wife. And we have a special guest who's got a question for you, Francisco.
Hi.
Hello.
So, I don't know if you recognize my voice.
Yes, that's your lovely wife.
By the way, A+ Francisco Lindor immediately knowing who he's talking to.
I hope.
I mean, yes, you hope, but that's mega points. Mega points for Francisco Lindor.
I'm looking at you.
Oh, yeah.
Also, apparently he was looking.
So, what's harder, turning a double play or 4 a.m. diaper changes?
I've been turning double plays for about 25 years, changing diapers for 4.5. So I think, I thought I was going to get that one. Changing diapers at 4 in the morning, it's tough. That's a tough one. I'm lucky to have you because you've been taking over big time.
Excellent job all around. Excellent job. Also, I think it's very funny. Imagine being the second baseman there. Your shortstop's just seemingly talking to no one. Francisco, who are you talking to? My wife. What?
Probably wasn't paying attention, though. I mean, well, they should be paying attention to the batter.
That's the thing. Is I guess you know that dudes are mic'd up, but still, imagine you're the pitcher and you just hear Francisco talking about changing diapers behind you. Wacky bit. Last but not least, as teased by Anthony Haney, they unveiled a new game on the NBA on TNT that works in conjunction with the NHL on TNT. And they tried to have Charles Barkley host it, which was a bad idea.
Okay,
the Hurricane. That's the Carolina Hurricane.
Yeah. Oh, you're never going to get this one because this is brand new.
Is there a better where did you start this, Anthony, that I can set this up
I started it midway through because I wanted to get to the part where they had to ask Charles who he played for.
Okay. At the start of this, they gave Chuck a card and said, you're going to host this. And Charles didn't understand that he had the answers and was just supposed to wait for the logo to be on the screen. And thus he kept saying the answer. And then this happened.
Utah.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Utah Mammoth.
That's a good one, Ernie. They just announced that like a month ago.
No, that's you.
Mammoth.
That's you, Draymond.
Good call, Draymond.
And you're the worst host ever. And now, you giving the Harvey rolling over in his grave.
But for old time's sake, Chuckster, we do have one who he played for we'd like to do again. He's a Hall of Famer in the who he played for.
You get him wrong.
Garrett Temple, who he played for this year. Garrett Temple.
Since I told you the Edmonton Oilers going to win the Stanley Cup because of the tariffs, this is what? Toronto Raptors.
Yes, you did.
Way to go,
And let me tell you, we're not going to be the 51st state either. We're going to take the cup back, but y'all pissing us off about the tariffs up there. I got your back, Canada.
Wait, can I see that? Was the answer on the card?
I don't know.
Yes, it was.
Yes. It was on the card.
Yes.
The answer was on the card.
You little cheater.
Wait a minute.
You little cheater.
That's why I was laughing so hard,
Charles
man.
didn't even realize it was on the card.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. Did he? Or just...
Well, from the video, you can't necessarily tell, but I would assume he did.
Honestly, like, inside the NBA, you can't necessarily tell. Put that on a T-shirt. That's our show. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Team 980.